Shalom Aleichem, meine liebe Freund. Ich heiße Mottel Didner und das ist 15 Minute Yiddish. Mehr weniger. Jede Woche bringen wir euch eine Mini-Lektie in Jiddisch Sprach und Kultur von dem Nationalen Jiddisch-Theater Volksbühne. Welcome back to 15 Minute Yiddish. If you missed any of our past episodes, daigen nicht. You can view them all online at nytf.org. Nu, wir haben sich schon gelernt alle Oisies in dem Aleph Base. We've learned our diphthongs, our digraphs, and our trigraph. And we are now ready to read any word in Yiddish that is spelled phonetically. Lomir iberchazeren. Zoom. Ja, der Zoom is a buzzing or a humming sound, die Zoomen in the plural. Weiter. Zerspreiten. Oh, we learned that word. It means to spread out. Punktezoi. Scott. Chemodan. Ja, der Chemodan is a suitcase. Die Chemodanen in the plural. Sophia. Araufgehen. We already know that arauf means up and gehen means to go. To go up? Yes, to go up or to climb. So what would this one be? Murray. Reingehen. To go in. Punktezoi. Here's a fun one. Wayne. Jimjik? Ja, der Jimjik. It's a gimmick or a gadget. The Jimjikus in the plural. Jimjik. Oh yeah, that really is fun. Jimjik. It really is. Let's all say it. Jimjik.
Jimjik.
I gotta work that into my
Jimjik.
Jimjik. Oisgezeichnet. Now that we've learned all that, let's throw it away.
Was meinst du, Motto?
Das ist Modne. Well, not entirely. The consonants stay the same. It's the vowels that we need to deal with when reading and spelling words that come from Lashon Kodesh. With the exception of poetry and literature which was written in the Soviet Union, which consciously changed the spellings of these words so that they would be phonetic, Lashon Kodesh words in Yiddish are spelled as they are in the original Hebrew and Aramaic. In fact, the words Lashon, meaning language, and Kodesh, meaning holy, are spelled like this. There is no written vowel between the lamed and shin, even though there is an o sound in there. And the vav is pronounced as an and not an u. And in the word Kodesh, the vav is pronounced as an oi diphthong. And there is no written vowel at all between the daled and shin, even though there's an in there. Why is it spelled this way? Good question. I'm glad you asked. The short answer is because it made sense to the people who were codifying the written language at the time. Back then, it may have been more phonetic than it seems now. The pronunciation may have changed over time, but the spelling stayed the same. Think of English words that have spellings that seem to make no sense. For example, why is laugh spelled the way it is and not like this? Because once upon a time, it would have been pronounced lach, as it is in Yiddish. To the people who invented the spelling, A-U-G-H was a perfectly sensible way to spell ach. Think of Lashon Kodesh as a language filled with cough, womb, spatial, scene, psychology, and all of the other weird words that don't follow phonetic spelling rules in English. Mortal darling, if one didn't already know this word, how would one know how to pronounce it? A gute Frage, Sophia. Most of the Yiddish-English dictionaries that you will encounter will have transliterations of Lashon Kodesh words to help you figure this out. and the dictionaries will include the most common Lashon Kodesh words. But as you go deeper into your Yiddish literary journey, you will no doubt encounter Lashon Kodesh words and phrases that you won't find in your standard dictionary. These are often things that are the mark of a yeshiva-educated writer. For that, there is a special dictionary called Wörterbuch von Lashon Kodesh Stammige Wörter in Yiddish, edited by Yitzhak Naborsky. But this is not a Yiddish-English dictionary. It does have transliterations into phonetic Yiddish, and the definitions are written in Yiddish as well, so you may need to look up words from the definition in your Yiddish-English dictionary. Be patient. It also is helpful to join one of the social media forums for people learning Yiddish and for Yiddish translators, and it couldn't hurt to make friends with someone who was educated in a Yiddish-speaking yeshiva. Their dialect will likely be different from the standardized Klal Yiddish that you are learning here, but they will certainly be able to help you with Lashon Kodesh words, especially when dealing with things like quotes from Der Teure, which you will certainly find when reading Sholem Aleichem. And speaking of Sholem Aleichem,
Aleichem Sholem.
there are some words that you'll recognize when you see them, even if it doesn't click at first. Wayne. Oh, is that how you spell Sholem? Yeah, this is how we spell Sholem. So what do you think this spells? Sholem Aleichem? Oh, Sholem Aleichem. Sehr good. It helps to know what all the possibilities are. L'moshel, Vov can be pronounced as an O. Scott, I bet you heard this phrase a lot on the day of your bar mitzvah.
Sure, that's Mazel Tov.
It is. Vov can also be pronounced as Oi. You know this periphrastic verb already. Hinde.
Well, it looks like it says Muchel sein, but you said that Vov could sometimes be Oi, so it must be Moichel sein, as in Sei mir Moichel.
Punktazoi. Sometimes Vov can be pronounced differently even within the same word. Remember when we see a Vov sof ending, Vov is pronounced as an Eh. Now this word looks an awful lot like the previous word, but here's a hint. It's the name of a body part. Professor, I bet you can figure this one out.
The stem does look like Moichel, but without the lamed. A body part. Is it Moyech?
It is.
Oh, so this is the plural, Moiches.
That's using the old moyech, Professor. So in this word, our first Vav is pronounced Oi. It's followed by an unwritten vowel, and the second Vav is pronounced Vav can also be pronounced U, as in this word. Hint, it's also followed by an unwritten vowel. Sophia, did you come across this word during your education at the Flatbush Girls Yeshiva?
Certainly, that's Ruach, spirit. We all had to have plenty of Flatbush Girls Yeshiva Ruach.
It is. And that's how it's pronounced in modern Hebrew. In Yiddish we say ruach. In Hebrew, ruach is used to describe many facets of spirit, including the positive sense of spirited. In Yiddish, however, it is used to describe a spirit as in a ghost. The plural is die ruches. We drop the before the ches, and the vav after the ches is pronounced as an So, to recap, in Lashon Kodesh, vav can be pronounced o, u, oi, or So, a vav can be pretty much any vowel. Got it. Very helpful. I'm sensing some sarcasm. Chas v'cholila. Good that you mentioned that. We already learned cholila, may it not be so, or God forbid. Chas v'cholila kicks it up a notch, and it means under no circumstances. And here we see a vav all by itself, but pronounced as a ve. This comes from Hebrew, where a single vav means and. Chas v'cholila means may God protect you and God forbid. And that leads to our next vowel. Hey.
I thought hey was a consonant.
It is, mostly. But in a Lashon Kodesh word like cholile, when you get a hey at the end of a word, it's an indication that there is an ending and that this is a feminine noun. For example, here's another word that you already know. Wayne, why don't you give this one a try?
Chle, chile, chele, chole, chale?
Chale? That's it.
Oh, chale. I knew that.
Great. Then you'll get this one too.
Chuppe.
Ausgezeichnet.
Well, that one's easy because there's a vav after the ches.
Die chuppe in the singular, die chuppes in the plural. And again, our second vav is pronounced eh. And you'll notice that the hey gets dropped in the plural. This is the pattern with all nouns ending with a vowel hey. Now, stay with me, Wayne. Let's go for something really hard.
The first word is chuppah again, and the second word is ooh.
Let me help you out. This phrase literally translates to wedding canopy and blessings. So the vav means and.
Oh, well, if it's a ve, then it's chuppah ve kiddushin.
Very, very close. We actually don't pronounce the last yud. It's chuppah vekedushin, a marriage ceremony. Now, let's talk about ayin. Ayin can behave in some really weird ways. Here's a phrase that you already know. Hinda, why don't you try this one?
Kein in here hore. Oh, keinen hore. Or as my mother used to say, kinahore. Tu.
Oh, sehr gut. Keinen hore, or colloquially, kinahore. Literally, no evil eye. In this case, ayin yud is pronounced as if it were zwei yuden. Here's another instance of weird ayin. This is also a word that you know. Murray, do you remember this one?
Let's see. Acre? Like an acre of land?
Not quite. What if I told you that this was a silent ayin?
Oh, Icke, the main point.
Punktezoi. And getting back to where we started with Sholem Aleichem, we see that ayin can be pronounced as an ah. And in this case, a single yud is pronounced as if it were zwei yuden. But for the most part, yud is still an I or an E. But sometimes you'll still come across a weird one, as we'll see in a moment. So we don't need to spend too much time on that, but we do need to talk about Aleph. Dr. Fraud, Aleph, we need to talk. Talk about your weird behavior. Check out this word. You all know it, but you wouldn't know it by the spelling. Anyone want to try this one?
I'll try.
Ausgezeichnet.
Of die? I don't remember that word. Of day? Of D?
You're getting closer.
Of de? Avade. Avade, it's avade.
Avada indeed. When you see a super weird use of aleph, like this one, it's a pretty good indication that it's a word of Aramaic origin. Here's another example. Professor, want to try this one? I'll give you a hint. The stummer aleph at the end is pronounced eh, and although there is no vowel indicated after the dalid, there is an ah.
Dovke?
Very close. The zwei vovin are actually pronounced as a f in this case because it's followed by an unvocalized consonant. It's dafke, which means precisely. There is far more to learning Lashon Kodesh words that are used in Yiddish than I can possibly go over in one episode or even in a whole season. 20 years after I began my journey into learning Yiddish, I'm still taking classes that focus on Lashon Kodesh words that I don't know. But there are a few more topics that I want to touch upon. One is words that are written with no vowels at all, like this one. This is not a word that you know. It's pronounced chalishin. Even though it's written completely without vowels, not even a hey or a shtumara aleph that act like vowels, yet there are two vowels. This is a verb meaning to faint. It is a regular verb in the present and the past tense. No, not yet. There's another verb that I've been saving for verb time. It illustrates another point, and it's coming up next. Now, who remembers this word that we just saw in episode 6?
Avada, darling. That's simcha, a celebration.
Punktazoi. Sometimes Yiddish does add vowels that do not appear in the original Hebrew spelling. In Hebrew, that yud would not be there. Now, the root of this word in Hebrew, sin, mem, ches, can show up in other words. In this case, it's pronounced mesameach sein. And without someone to tell you, or a dictionary with a transliteration, you probably wouldn't figure that out. Again, be patient. Don't feel that you need to avoid Lashon Kodesh words because they can be harder to decode. Go for it. Make mistakes, thank the people who correct you, and make your vocabulary richer.
Hey, Mo'el,
Yo, Murray?
you haven't told us what mesameach sein means.
Du bist gerecht. Mesameach sein is a periphrastic verb, and sein is the part that gets conjugated.
But what does the mesameach part mean?
Remember, the root is the same as simcha.
Oh, so it means to party.
If we add the reflexive zich, then it means to party. If we don't use zich, it means to celebrate someone else, like chosen kala by a chasana. And it's verb time. Because mesameach sein is not spelled phonetically, let's use the transliteration for this one. And because we already know how to conjugate the verb sein, let's do this one party style. Let's jump straight to alle zusammen. Ich bin mesameach. Du bist mesameach. Sie, es ist mesameach. Wir seien mesameach. Ihr seid mesameach. Sie seid mesameach. And the past tense, like all periphrastic verbs, uses the helper verb haben. Haben, mesameach, gewen. Nu, lo me sich weiter mesameach sein, chevre. Join us again next week as we discuss Sprichwörter. You know what? Let's do this. I've been talking a lot lately.
Indeed.
So each of you do a little research and bring in your 5 favorite Yiddish expressions. Bonus points if they contain some Lashon Kodesh. Maskim?
Maskim.
Derweil.
Seid gesund, alle.
Yeah.